Hey guys, what's up? Matt and James here. Welcome to the episode of Coffee is for Closers.
How we going, guys? Hope we're all having a good day.
Exactly. So today what we're going to talk about is role plays, different things that you can do as a sales rep to help your structure just get better, really, so you can make more sales. So if you like this one, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff on YouTube or wherever it is you're listening to this. But cue the intro.
If you listen to this podcast, you will make your first $1 million within 3 years. I'm going to repeat that. You will make $1 million within 3 years of the first episode you listen to. We don't want pikers. We're not here to save the manatees. We're here to make podcasts. You really want this. You listen and review.
Put that coffee down.
Yeah, and for reference, we are talking about role plays in the sense for you to get better at sales, not role play like the type you like to do in the bedroom. Yeah. So, comment below if you'd like to see that as another episode. Maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, I'll have to get the 8K camera out for that one.
Yeah.
So we can zoom in on you.
Nice.
Well, anyway, if it's your first time here, Coffee's for Closers. You've never done this.
It's your first time here. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you.
I wish you the best with all your future successes. No, so what we do is we talk all things sales. We run a business called Sales Sniper, where we do done-for-you sales for people like Ryan Serhnant and Jeremy Miner, Bradley, a few other choice people that you've heard of, and some you probably never haven't. Some you probably never will. Okay, so how do we develop salespeople? Like, what are things that you can do to get better? Role playing being one of them. However, it doesn't want to be the only thing you do.
No.
And you want to do it in a very particular way. And there's some ways that you can make things better.
Yeah. So I think like the first thing to do is actually recognize what your lowest hanging fruit is, whether that's structure, objection handling, tonality, etc., right? Then as you go in and you organize someone to role play with, or maybe you join the closing code and do some of the role plays there.
Wait a second. The closing code?
What's that? Oh yeah, that's right. We've got. Maybe you want to talk about the closing code.
It's a little program that we
for
have
40 minutes.
It's a little program that we have where you actually get 6 role plays a week. Right? It's $50 a week, $25 for the first week. But we actually role play with a coach. Plus, you get access to essentially what is a version of our staff portal.
Yeah,
that's what the closing code is. The link will be in the description, wherever it is you're listening to this or watching this. If you want to sign up that first week, $25, cancel anytime. And there you go. That's one way that you can role play. All right, guys, it's been fun. Thanks very much for tuning in. No, so role plays, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why we developed the closing code actually is because we're such a big believer in role plays that we wanted to develop a role play group for our sales reps and have one of our senior members run it. So we were like, well, we're going to be doing this anyway. The more people that are in it, the better. But we have to pay people for it, and and we were like, well, we have a staff portal as well, and we can build that out. So let's monetize these things that we use to make our staff as good as what they are. And then that can be like a good little cycle to get people, in to come work for us, because if someone does really well in the role plays, we're probably going to offer them flag them to be offered a position. The second thing is that like we just like developing sales reps because it's super cheap for a reason. Like we don't really make money on it, but we probably don't lose money on it. But again, it's
there to pay for itself.
It's a great position for us to be known as the guy who has the greatest sales training course for the cheapest money.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for bang for buck, it's about as good as it gets. And then going up from there, like a good stepping stone into things like NEPQ for the guys who they're just starting out. They don't have the money to put 4, 5, 6, 20, 15 grand on sales training. So they can come into the closing code. They can do that for 3 or 4 months. Then if they like it and they want to go more in depth, they can go into something like an NEPQ or a 3.0 or
Well, 3.0 you get access to closing code as well. So sign up for that.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to do a little pitch on that too?
Yeah, NEPQ 3.0, we do tonality training, we do objection handling training, we do role plays, you get access to the NEPQ portal. Yep. And then I do a session every single week as well of Q&A.
Yeah, so
there you go, which is something I don't do in the closing code.
You do quite a bit of role playing there as well, right?
So I sort of run NEPQ 3.0 and Jeremy runs Inner Circle.
Yeah, right, okay.
So it's a good sort of stepping off point. But I think role play is a great thing. One of the things that I get the guys to do in the NEPQ 3.0 role plays because again, it's a little bit more advanced than the people who are in the closing code. And there are really good sales guys in the closing code too, but I look at it as like a stepping stone program. But some people just like the role plays because they're experienced and they don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
But I get people to sell things that they don't sell. So let's say the person is a coaching consultant salesperson. I'll get them to sell water filtration systems. So, and the reason why we do it is one, because I do that, and I can sort of chop and change between anything pretty seamlessly now. But the only reason why I can do that is because I've taught so many different types of selling that now I can do it. But also I use the exact same process. So I understand the process so well that it really allows me to just be able to kind of step into anything and anywhere. Now, what it forces me to do as a salesperson when I'm selling things that I'm not familiar with is it forces me to rely on process rather than just knowledge of the industry or default back to things that I would just ask because I have a knowledge of like sales or because I have a knowledge of marketing and I'm selling marketing and all that kind of stuff. So it really takes away the technician side of things because you know nothing. Like, sold water filtration systems to a guy, like trying to teach him how to sell it better, and he was like, that was amazing. I was like, I know nothing about water filtration systems, but the only reason why I'm able to do it well is because I just rely on the process. So it really makes people think outside the box and kind of go deep into the things that really matter in selling instead of just getting caught on the hamster wheel of like just entrenching themselves into being able to sell one thing well.
Yeah, and if you can sell anything like water filtration, mortgages, life insurance, whatever that is, coaching and consulting, if you can do that off the cusp, like what you are selling, you'll crush it because you understand. You have to understand the structure to such a high level to be able to replicate that in any instance, right?
Yeah. So that's like on Fridays I do a role play with all the Inner Circle and 3.0 guys. Yeah. And that is like, it really lets them see what they're not good at.
Yeah. So like I've been doing some of those role plays for probably like a year now for the guys in the closing code. I just finished up and had one of our other guys jump on that. And what I would get, like I'd always ask the questions to the guys. It's like, okay, well, what exactly are you looking feedback on for? Right. That way I can listen out specifically. Like if they want help with tonality, then I'll listen out solely for tonality as opposed to structure. If they just want general, I just listen general and give them more advice. But I always sit there and take notes. It's really good when you've got someone that knows what they're looking for to actually like solely pinpoint what you're doing well and what you're doing wrong so that you become aware of problems that you didn't know existed so you can go ahead and work on them. Yeah. And then when you've like found like that lowest hanging fruit, then you just do role plays solely to get better at that one particular thing. Spend 70% of your time working on the lowest hanging fruit, then spend another 30% of your time just working on general so you feel like you're doing more than what you actually are. And then once you've nailed that part, pick something else, spend 70% of the time on that. Get better. Yeah. It's so easy.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I see for most people is that the first 5 minutes of the call sucks.
Yeah.
That's probably, I would say.
That's where I give most feedback.
Most of the time when we go through a role play, the guys don't get past the first 3 or 5 minutes because there's just a lot of feedback that needs to be given in that time because they're just, for most people, I think I've said this a lot of times, but most people are not listening to the prospect. They're thinking about the next thing that they want to say.
Yeah. They're so ingrained in that process.
Yeah, and when you don't know your process well enough and you're constantly thinking about the next thing, then you miss out on most of the key information you're going to get from a prospect. And it's like when you're talking to someone who clearly isn't listening to you and they're just waiting for their next opportunity to talk. That's what it's like. That's what most salespeople that I listen to, that's what their biggest problem is. So their inner monologue is too loud. And so that's really exacerbated when you're selling something that you've never sold before, so you're not comfortable doing it, so you can't fall back into your word tracks that you've done tens and hundreds of times that kind of get you out of sticky situations. So because you have none of those developed for that product. So like it makes it very, very obvious that the person doesn't really understand the information that they're trying to get out of the particular phase, especially in the beginning. So the conversation goes off the rails very quickly. And then once it's off the rails, it's really hard to get back.
Yeah, you win or lose in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
majority of the time. Anyway.
Yeah, I think the first few minutes of a call, like if you're listening to this and you're doing sales calls, really dial in that first few minutes. For any PQ, it's like the connection phase and the situation phase, which is like, what are they here to talk about and what problem are they here to solve? And then what are they currently doing about that problem to get that solution? That is such an integral part of the sale because it sets up the rest of the conversation so well that if you don't get it right, it's like, if I'm shooting at 1,000 meters right? And if I'm shooting at 100 meters and my barrel is off by a millimeter, I'll miss that target by a centimeter, right? So it's like goes from here to here, which isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But if that same barrel position at 1,000 meters is a 1 meter miss, which is obviously a pretty big miss, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we need to keep that into account where we, at the beginning of the call, we have to be very precise, very, very targeted in how we do things. And then as the call progresses, like we can sort of allow it to take some few more, peaks and troughs.
Yeah, like it's okay to go off track as long as it's productive. Well, it's okay to go off script and off structure, provided you get into the right place. There's just many different ways you can go about it.
But it's rarely productive to do it
start,
off like at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so like that's sort of a lot of the stuff that we do in role plays. So like role playing specific sections of the script is really important. Role playing, like a lot of people will role play and the prospect will be quite easy, and it's like they'll give you a lot of things. So you want to have difficult prospects when you role play. There's no point doing anything that isn't harder than a normal sales call.
Oh yeah.
So you want to like all of your, like when you're very first starting, have your prospects just be totally normal. So you can just get used to doing something in the same way that you would go to a gym. You wouldn't load up max weights when you first start, and you kind of, you got to challenge yourself, but you got to get in there and be smart.
I always ask people's experience, how much actual experience do you have?
Yeah.
And then you relay that to whoever's playing the prospect. Like, okay, he's pretty new, go easy on him.
Yeah.
Right? If it's someone more advanced, it's like beat or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
It's funny, I see a lot of guys as well. They probably sell better in person and they come onto the role plays because they get so nervous. They're in a group full of 30 people being judged and critiqued and given feedback that they suck way worse. And I always say to them, it's like, hey man, bro, if you can't bring it here, how are you going to bring it on a sales call? Do you have any tips to get comfortable enough doing that in front of people so you can actually get good?
Well, what I always say is you're here to learn.
Yeah.
So if you're going to up, this is the best place to do it.
I'd rather up on a role play than when there's $1,000 on the line.
Yeah, exactly. So, just no one's going to judge you for being especially if you're okay, I'm new to this
Judge
way
Judy,
of selling. Judge Judy.
She always does. Only Judy can judge me.
Exactly. So,
why do people listen to this? It's unbelievable.
I don't know, people are bored. They're locked down.
Yeah, lockdown. That must be it.
The moment COVID's gone, this thing's going to tank.
Oh, for sure.
Just I hope it does.
We can stop doing it. Anyway, back on track. Where were we?
I don't know. Yeah, so when you start role playing with somebody, you want to kind of, the degree of difficulty I think should be ramped up harder than a normal sales call, and then from there, you want to make sure that you role play the entire process and then the objection handling as well.
Yep.
But really, you can work on certain parts of it and just kind of go over and over and over again. So really smash out the first part of the call, have the person, give you different bits of feedback and be a different type of prospect for different, stages, and try and war game that. And I think then you get the objection handling. You want to go through 4 or 5 different objection handling cycles to be able to make sure that you can keep pushing hard enough to where you get the sale, but it's just you just want to be 2 or 3 levels above where you are.
Yeah, I when people are specifically trying to work on objection handling, they're more experienced. Get them to start objection handling it, and then say start again. You're not allowed to use the same words you did.
Yeah.
Not can't use any of the same words. It's just and why do you think that's important now? It's you can't say that as a phrase.
Yeah. Well, that's
just
something
start again.
So I don't know if it was Will that developed it.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
That game, we used to play it a lot, and we still do play it when we have our team meetings, which is where you have to ask a question, which is okay, has that had an impact on you? And you go back and forth
In different ways,
but you can't say it again.
So has that had an impact on you?
Yeah.
Is that affecting you in any way?
Yeah, and then I would say one, he would say one, but we can't say the same thing more than once. And so Yeah, like it's a conversational flexibility exercise,
That's the
which
word.
I highly recommend you try. It's very difficult, especially when you first start. It gets a little bit easier as you get better at it, but it sort of keeps your mind thinking, because sometimes you have to ask a prospect the same thing 4 or 5 times.
Because they don't get it.
You can't ask it the same
Yeah.
way, so you have to ask it in different ways so that they kind of have that moment like, oh, okay, I understand what it is you're saying now.
Yeah, because sometimes it's you don't articulate correctly, or other times people just don't listen
Yeah.
or comprehend what you're trying to ask. So it really helps.
Yeah, exactly. So those are some of the keys to role plays. You know, some of the places that we recommend doing role plays. First of all, like I wouldn't recommend you role playing with, like, if you're a new sales guy and it's just like the
Don't
two of you and
recommend
you're
with other
brand
new
new.
salespeople.
Don't the two of you just go and start role playing with each other, because like it's not going to be super productive. You want to, same as in the gym, you want to role play with someone better than you, right? So they can actually give you some sort of feedback that makes sense. Whether it's a coach or not is one thing, but someone who actually has some experience. So one of the best ways that you can do that is you can go to someone on your team who's successful and offer to do like their, back cleanup for them, right? So be like, hey, if you can do some coaching with me, or if you can do some, I'll do follow-ups for you if you can spend, 2 hours a week doing role plays with me and give me some feedback. That's one way. The closing code is another way. I'm not going to lie, it's super cheap.
Yeah.
It's $50 Aussie per week. Like, you're not going to find cheaper than that anywhere. I priced it at that for a reason. It's an absolute no-brainer, and you'll get access to a role play literally every day. Like, so it's 6 days a week. There's probably 3 or 4 days a week that work in your time zone, depending on where you are. So, like, if you want to role play with a coach and other people who are trying to get better for an hour at a time for $50 a week, let's say you come 3 times a week, plus you get the portal, you're paying like $17 a role play session.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys that don't actually role play. They just come on to listen to other people do it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things is, like, as a warning for when you do role plays, if you're just finding people, because we get heaps of people post up in our groups, like, anyone want a role play partner here or there? Just be careful who you're getting feedback off, because if they're giving you bad feedback, like, you're going to teach that to you and learn bad habits.
Yeah.
Like, that meeting with that YouTube superstar the other day, and you went in and you're just like, why would I implement any of this? None of it makes any sense.
Yeah,
Same
that
thing
was
with
retarded.
sales. If someone says, oh, you need to set an agenda, like, that's bad advice.
Yeah,
You
exactly. And so you want to work off a philosophy. So once you figure out the philosophy, let's say Dan Locke's consultative selling is your philosophy, or let's say you're using a more traffic and funnels, whatever, even though we train half of them. Let's say you're using the straight line persuasion model, right? Like, you want to find someone who's adapted and implemented that effectively so that you can role play. Because if you come to me with, like, say you're selling like pure straight line persuasion style, like, I'll understand what you're doing, but I disagree with the methodology somewhat, right? So I'll give you feedback that will change the methodology, because I would give you feedback along my methodology, right? So now it needs to say that, like, I think I've done all of them, so I think my way is the best way, but obviously it's my way, so who doesn't think that their way is the best way? If I was talking to Jordan Belfort, I'm sure he would say his way is the best way, right? But, a lot of ways, any way done effectively will work, right? But, like, so you want to make sure that you've kind of got that methodology, and, like, for me, it was NEPQ. So I'd done a fair few sales courses. Most of them were down more of the hard selling line, and that's how I did things. When I learned NEPQ, I was like, oh, this is a much better way of doing things, and that's kind of where I went. So now, like, I have an understanding of those hard selling methodologies, but I know the pitfalls, so I can give feedback to someone who wants to use that style and how to make it better. But normally I'm going to go, hey, listen, this is a better methodology, just learn this way of doing things. So find someone who has a similar selling style to what you want to have at the end of the day and who you think is successful, and then pay them or do something for them to be able to teach you. Because, like, salespeople, their best time is spent selling. Like, it took a long time for Sales Sniper to make enough money to where it made sense for me to go
To take out our best sales guys off sales.
Yeah, because me and Marco don't sell.
Yeah.
And we're the best sales guys in Sales Sniper. So it's like, for us to not sell, we still sell, we just sell different stuff. But we're not like on the phones like traditionally selling. We're selling more B2B, or we're doing our own services and stuff like that, right? So, and we coach our guys and then we coach people. So it took a long time to get that. But generally speaking, those salespeople who you're going to be learning off, like, they're successful salespeople, so they make money. So therefore, you're going to have to figure out an exchange of value to be able to get enough time in their diary to make it make sense for them to actually teach you. Because essentially, like if they teach you and you're on the same like sales team, they're just training their own competition.
Yep.
Right. So it's kind of the way it's broken down. So come up with a unique value proposition, or pay someone like us, or go to 7th level and go, I actually want to invest in myself for sales training. I think it's some crazy stat where it was like the average sales guy in the US only invests like $77 a year into their. No wonder they're not making any money.
What's the? I remember you said this the other day. What the average wage was for?
Oh, in Australia, it's what's different, right? In the States, it's around $40,000 a year.
It's low. No wonder they're only spending
I
$77.
made like double that last month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
More actually. But anyway,
Triple.
but I also spent a lot more money. So if you took that $77 a year and multiplied it, like I was probably spent, I don't know, over like a 15-year sales career, I must have spent $300,000 or $400,000 at least on
You
coaching.
spend at least $77 a week on coffee.
Yeah, well, because closing, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is also an investment on closing.
It
coffee.
is.
You
It
know,
is.
It's for closers, apparently.
Yeah. Did you know that?
Like and subscribe, yeah.
Yeah. And cologne as well.
Yeah, Sales Panther.
Sales Panther. 60% of the time, you close every time using hashtag Sales Panther. Comment hashtag Sales Panther if you're still listening.
And if you're a cultured man who likes to smell good, maybe we have something interesting coming. I
Maybe
don't
we
know.
have a shop
Maybe we don't.
on the way. We'll see. But those are our top tips for follow-up. I don't really feel like we need to go any further into that.
No.
Top tips for follow-up. Those are our
Just
top tips.
get role playing, right?
Get role playing, guys. Get out there. Challenge yourself on the role plays. Make sure that you're role playing with people who actually know what they're talking about. Create a value proposition for someone, or join something like the Closing Code or one of the NEPQ programs. And make sure that you put yourself in a position to where you're actually, like when you get onto a sales call, you feel comfortable enough to where you can handle most situations that you're dealing.
Yeah. And if you need to buy a sexy police outfit to do it, then just do it. Get it done. The role playing will make you better.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thanks. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.